Hey guys, welcome back. Yesterday was the most entertaining day of the 2021-2022 NBA season so far. You had Steph and Wardell Curry drop 50 points. You had Nikola Jokic drop a body. You had Karl-Anthony Towns at a half-court heave to win into overtime, or to go into overtime when they ended up losing. And the Minnesota Timberwolves might be bad again. Not that that's a surprise, but they're going to be bad again. It was all around just an amazing NBA day. Mavericks won. Great vibes.
Are immaculate. I mean, great vibes now. It's great vibes. Like great vibes, great vibes. Yeah, great vibes. No, sensational vibes. And like the vibes are immaculate.
Great vibes all around. Jalen Brunson has been the best player on this team so far. Didn't think I'd be saying that. But yeah, I mean, good win. So that makes the day better. Let's talk about Steph Curry. 50% from the field, like 47 from three, and 13 of 13 from the free throw line. That man was out there cooking no matter who was guarding him. DeAndre Hunter, Cam Reddish, Kevin Huerter didn't stand a chance standing in front of Steph and Wardell Curry. The Warriors improved to 9-1, which is insane because I didn't think they'd be starting out this hot. Their ball movement is the Warrior-esque, and I can only imagine what happens when Klay Thompson comes back. And I'm really curious to see how James Wiseman is going to fit on this team, because coming into the draft last year, I thought James Wiseman was the no-brainer pick for the Warriors. Immediately come in and be like the best center they've had in like 3 years, or not even 3 years, ever since the dynasty started, really. Because you had Andrew Bogut, and you had like Kevon Looney, JaVale McGee, and I'm taking what I saw out of Wiseman over all three of those guys in his rookie year, and he just hasn't done that. So I'm excited to see what they do if they start him and kind of see what the chemistry does, because right now the chemistry looks amazing, even with like Kevon Looney not being the best center in the league, or even being like one of the top 20 centers in the league. So I'm just wondering what they're going to do when Wiseman comes back. I thought he was just going to go in there and light it up, but he is not. But yeah, Steph Curry absolutely murdered the Hawks. One of the best, if not the best, performance of the year so far in the first 50-point game that we've seen so far this year. Nikola Jokic versus the Morris brothers. So Jokic, the entire game against the Heat, was absolutely cooking Bam Adebayo, just taking his lunch money. And Bam got into him on this play, and Bam thought he got fouled, and Jokic didn't appreciate that. And then Marcus Morris took account of Bam thinking he got fouled and gave Nikola Jokic a hard foul. And in doing so, Nikola Jokic absorbed the blow because he's like 300 pounds, and that's not a knock on him. He's a heavier guy, and Jokic absorbed the blow and gave the blow back and then some to Markieff Morris. And I listened to the Miami Heat pod, the Locked On podcast for the Miami Heat, and one of the funny things that I thought is that they didn't really give a whole lot of accountability to Markieff Morris. Now, as a Mavericks fan, not the biggest Morris brothers fan. You got him stepping on Luka's ankle. You got him pushing him in the back. The whole just Clippers thing. Markieff Morris, I don't have as much of a problem with, but I still don't love them. But when I was listening to the podcast, they weren't like, oh yeah, Markieff Morris, they acknowledged that he shouldn't have done that, but they weren't like, yeah, he was in the wrong. And that was just weird to me, because it was very obvious that there's no winners in this situation. Jokic will probably get suspended for a couple of games. I assume Markieff Morris won't get suspended, but he'll probably get a fine. You'll get probably a lot of the Miami Heat players getting fines because of this picture, and them just kind of going to the locker room. And I know this picture, they were stopped by the security. A lot of people on Twitter were talking about like, hey, why don't they push past the security? Bunch of fake tough guys. I think the league is a bunch of fake tough guys. I think now they could all beat me up, don't get me wrong, but I don't think any one of them are really there to fight. I think they're just there to try and stand up for someone or stand up for themselves, stand up for a teammate, right? But I don't think anyone in the league, or very few people in the league, are about fighting. I know there's a couple players that will get down and scrap, and Markieff Morris might be one of them. So might Jimmy Butler. But I think if they do push past that security, you're looking at suspensions, and what are they going to do when they get in the locker room? Like realistically, like in the picture, you see Kyle Lowry, you see Bam Adebayo, you see Jimmy Butler. What are they going to do? Like, I don't think they're going to get there and, start wailing punches on the Nuggets. So, and even if they do that, you're looking at suspensions for the best 3 players on the team for a significant amount of time in a conference where you can't really afford to have your 3 best players out for a significant amount of time because the Eastern Conference is really, really good this year. So I think they did the right approach by I wouldn't have gone to like the locker room at all. But I think they did the right approach by not pushing past the security guy, even though they very well could have, because of the implications that would have made. And now, once again, everyone's in the wrong. Jokic is in the wrong. Markieff Morris is in the wrong. The Jazz bench is in the wrong. The Jazz fans are in the wrong for chanting MVP after this. So there's no good guys in this situation. And it kind of seems like both sides were trying to like show the blame on the other side. On the other side, but there was no winners. There was no winners in this. Markieff Morris could have been very, very hurt. And Jokic could have been hurt too. I know Jokic is a bigger guy, but you have people like Shaq saying, just because it doesn't look like we're getting hit as hard because we're, we're bigger guys, doesn't mean we're not. We just don't move like, a 6 foot like Kemba Walker. Because if Kemba Walker got hit like that, he would go, that's not the case for a 300-pound center. And then you have the Jokic brothers on Twitter backing up Nikola Jokic, which I think is just super funny. And you have Marcus Morris on Twitter tweeting out against Jokic like he waited till he turned his back. And like, dude, shut up. Shut up. You have no right to say that. None of them have any right to do anything. It's just a bad situation all around. And there's no winners. There's just losers. And now Marcus Morris is trying to be a loser. Like, dude, you're already a loser. It's all right. And then finally, the last significant thing of the night was the Minnesota Timberwolves. Karl Anthony Towns is, third best center in my eyes in the league behind Jokic and Joel Embiid. And he gets an inbound pass from the other side of the court. He launches it over 2 Memphis Grizzlies defenders, and it goes in. The bench of the Minnesota Timberwolves storms the court, jumps all over him like they just won the championship. And that was like, come on, guys, we still got another quarter to play because you just did that for overtime. Now they deserved some kind of celebration or something, but don't jump all over the guy like you just won the game, because you ended up losing the game in pretty dramatic fashion, because the Minnesota Timberwolves looked really, really bad in overtime. So, no, great shot by Cat. Don't get me wrong. Cat did everything he can, but he's just kind of going downhill in Minnesota, and I think his time might be done. Now, I know he liked the tweet. Don't get me wrong. Nobody in his account got hacked. But, I think his time in Minnesota might be coming to an end. The whole hacked thing was just really funny because, if I was a hacker and I hacked an NBA player's account, that's what I would do. I would just hack, I would just like a tweet or two of hey, I want out, and then cause a whole bunch of controversy. Because, what hacker does that? Every hacker's yeah, I'm going to tweet out, follow me, and DM me like they did with Wendell Carter Jr., I think, a few years back. So there was just a really entertaining day in the NBA. And I just kind of wanted to get a video out there because there was so much that went on. The most notable was probably the Jokic game, which is unfortunate because, Steph Curry dropped 50. And Jokic had a triple-double against, the Defensive Player of the Year candidate, Bam Adebayo. But it's just completely overshadowed by what he did to Markieff Morris. And that it's just a sad situation. And, if Jokic does get suspended a couple of games, he'll miss the Dallas game, which I might be at. We're planning on going to that game. Me and Evan and Will, the other 2 co-hosts here. So it'd be nice to see him play, but I would much rather not play against Jokic, but you never want to see someone hurt, suspended. Michael Porter Jr. is out indefinitely, or for the foreseeable future, is what they said. They didn't give any reasons behind it, and it was just like they just kind of left that out there on the timeline, and everyone's like, it's a little strange. But I'm 2 back surgeries before he went into the NBA. Highly recruited out of high school, draft stock fell, so I'm just kind of rooting. I'm rooting for the guy just because I want him to do well, because he kind of has a sad story. So, and he hasn't been great even beforehand. So just prayers up for Michael Porter Jr. Hope you're doing okay. So thank you guys for listening. That's all I've got. One of the crazier days in the NBA podcast getting recorded tomorrow, coming out Thursday. So I will see you again Thursday. Thank you.